Imagine this. You're all set for an amazing trip. Your suitcase is packed, your route is planned, and then suddenly the word visa pops up like a wall that ruins everything. But if you're holding a Philippine passport, the story becomes a whole lot brighter. As of 2025, Filipinos can enter 67 countries and territories without a visa, way more than most people realize. And among them are places so stunning, you'll end up asking, why didn't I go sooner? Today, Pinoy Global Explorer will take you through the top 10 countries you can visit visa-free, from dreamy destinations just around the corner to faraway wonders that will take your breath away. But before we dive in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you're with us on every new journey. Ready na ba? Tara, let's begin. Number 10, Malaysia. It's one of those destinations many Filipinos keep saying, I'll go when I have time. But once you finally set foot there, you realize this country of more than 30 million people is actually one of the easiest yet most rewarding places to explore. From the soaring Petronas Twin Towers to the deep green forests of Borneo, from glowing street food lanes to the clear blue beaches of Penang, Malaysia always finds a way to make visitors feel welcome. With a Philippine passport, you can stay for 30 days without a visa. Street food often costs about the same as a simple meal in Manila. Small guest houses stay within budget, and Kuala Lumpur's trains are clean, convenient, and incredibly easy to navigate. Put together, it becomes a destination that's close yet full of heart, perfect for short escapes or quiet journeys of self-renewal. Among those who chose Malaysia as a place to breathe again is Renz, a 27-year-old from Davao working in design. After months buried in deadlines and late-night hours in front of a screen, he felt he needed a break. He didn't want to go too far, didn't want complicated paperwork. He just wanted somewhere close, somewhere he could slip away for a few days. So he booked a ticket to Malaysia. The moment he stood before the Petronas Twin Towers on his first night, Renz simply froze, looking up at the sky filled with light. That feeling, he later said, was like getting recharged, something he hadn't felt in a long time. The next morning, with a steaming plate of Hokkien mee on Jalan Alor, he laughed at how unbelievably good and surprisingly cheap it was. In Penang, Renz rode a scooter around Georgetown, stopped by its famous murals, and sipped kopi ais in a small cafe. No packed schedules, just the calm he had lost along the way. And when he stood on a boat in Kota Kinabalu, watching the sunset turn the sky from orange to purple, he let out a quiet breath. Turns out all I needed was a short trip like this to feel lighter again. Malaysia isn't just a nearby destination for Filipinos. It's a reminder that sometimes you don't need to travel far to find peace. You just need to take the first step. Number 9. Israel. Israel has always been one of those dream destinations many Filipinos hope to visit at least once in their lifetime. This land of more than 9 million people is where the stories from the Holy Scriptures no longer feel distant. They unfold right before your eyes. Jerusalem wakes each morning with the sound of prayer. The Dead Sea rests quietly at the lowest point on earth, and Tel Aviv glows like a young city that never sleeps. With a Philippine passport, you can stay in Israel for up to 90 days without a visa, enough time to immerse yourself in its culture, history, and the deep emotions this place awakens. And even though the cost of living here is higher than in many other countries, the spiritual value it offers makes every moment feel truly worth it. Among those who came to Israel seeking peace of mind is Leah, a 28-year-old from Batangas. Leah had lost someone deeply important, and for months she felt like she was walking through fog. One day, after seeing a photo of Jerusalem online, she decided to give herself a journey, not to forget her grief, but to understand what was still alive in her heart. When she stood before the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, Leah said nothing. She simply closed her eyes, breathed deeply, and let the echoes of hymns inside that sacred space reach her. In Bethlehem, when she touched the stone believed to be the birthplace of Jesus, she broke into tears. Not because it hurt, she shared, but because I felt a little lighter. At the Dead Sea, she let herself float on the salty water, staring up at a sky so wide and clear it felt endless. For the first time in months, she felt like she could truly breathe again. Israel is more than just a trip. It's a journey that reminds you that sometimes peace doesn't come from finding answers. It comes from the very moment you dare to step toward the light. Number 8. Peru. Peru is the kind of place whose very name feels like a breeze drifting down from the Andes. This nation of more than 33 million people is where history and nature blend in the most magical way. Machu Picchu rising through the morning mist, the deep green Amazon stretching endlessly, and highland villages so peaceful they feel untouched by time. Even more special, Filipinos can stay in Peru for up to 183 days without a visa, one of the most generous visa-free durations in the world. Though it sits half a world away from the Philippines, Peru carries a strangely familiar warmth. Street food is cheaper than you might expect. The air feels open and refreshing, and the people are simple, kind, and welcoming. But what truly makes Peru unforgettable is the quiet space it gives you, the kind that lets you listen to your own thoughts again. One person who discovered this was Mateo, a 49-year-old from Iloilo. After resigning from a job that had turned into an endless loop without meaning, he decided to spend a few months going somewhere far just to see what I still want. And Peru called his name. The moment he arrived in Lima, Mateo was swept away by the aroma of ceviche in the street markets, sour, salty, and spicy all at once, awakening every sense in him. But the moment that truly shifted something inside him was the early morning he climbed up to Machu Picchu. Mist still wrapped around the ancient stones, and the silence was so deep he could hear his own heartbeat. "Here," he whispered. "There's no need to rush." In the days that followed, Mateo wandered through Cusco, chatted with locals, explored markets, and sometimes just sat still watching people pass by. No big plans, no big goals, just living. And when he left Peru, Mateo carried with him a lighter smile, the smile of someone who had found himself again. Peru isn't just a destination. It's a place that reminds you that sometimes the most important journey is the one that leads you back to yourself. Number 7. Thailand. Next on the list is Thailand, one of the easiest countries for Filipinos to visit. Yet every time you return, there's always something new waiting for you. This nation of more than 70 million people feels like a grand symphony, the lively rhythm of Bangkok, the calm charm of Chiang Mai, and the bright, beachy glow of Phuket that makes anyone want to stay just one more day. With a Philippine passport, you can stay in Thailand for 30 days without a visa, long enough to savor every dish, every street corner, and every little moment that makes this country so irresistible. One person who fell in love with Thailand from the very first visit is Jomar, a 26-year-old from Cebu. Jomar loves simple joys, good food, new sounds, unexpected encounters. And Thailand, in its own special way, felt like the perfect place for him. Right after landing in Bangkok, Jomar wandered into Chatuchak, the massive market where you could walk the whole day and still feel there's more to see. The smell of grilled skewers, the voices of vendors calling out, the burst of colors from countless stalls made him feel like he had stepped into a world that never stops moving. When he took his first bite of som tam, spicy enough to make anyone tear up, he laughed and said, "Super spicy, but I'm hooked." From Bangkok, Jomar took the night train to Chiang Mai, where golden temples glow beautifully under the sunset. In the mornings, he joined cooking classes with locals. In the evenings, he wandered through night markets, bought a cup of Thai milk tea, and listened to live music. Everything felt gentle, warm, and genuinely welcoming. But the moment that stayed with him the most was in Phuket. Sitting on Patong Beach, listening to the steady sound of the waves, he felt like he had finally returned to the pace his heart needed. No rush, no noise, just living and feeling. Thailand isn't just a fun destination. It's the place that reminds you life can be simpler and so much happier when you allow yourself to enjoy even the smallest moments. Number 6. Hong Kong. This is one of the rare cities in the world that can overwhelm you with its modern skyline while still touching something deeply human inside you. All in the same afternoon. With more than 7 million people, Hong Kong is where towering skyscrapers stand right beside old, history-filled alleyways, and where lively night markets sit only a few steps away from quiet temples. With a Philippine passport, you can stay in Hong Kong for 14 days without a visa, just enough time to understand the rhythm of this city without ever feeling rushed. One person who traveled to Hong Kong with a very personal purpose is Mara, a 32-year-old from Pampanga. She grew up listening to the stories her mother used to tell, the years she spent working in Hong Kong to send money home. After her mother passed away, Mara promised herself that one day she would visit the city, not to sightsee, but to see the place where my mother once lived. When Mara arrived in Hong Kong, the sky was clear and a cool breeze filled the air. Standing on Victoria Peak and looking down at the city shining with lights, she felt as if she was seeing the same view her mother once saw 20 years ago. There were no words, only a tightness in her chest. Walking through the streets of Mongkok, she bought a warm egg waffle. As the sweetness spread across her tongue, she smiled softly. Her mother had always said it was her favorite treat. In a tiny dim sum shop, she sat beside elderly locals, chatting in Cantonese. Mara didn't understand the words, yet she felt something familiar in the air around her. On her last day, Mara visited the Big Buddha on Lantau Island. As the wind blew down from above, carrying the salty scent of the sea, she closed her eyes and whispered, "Mama, I'm here." Hong Kong isn't just a lively city. It's the place that reminds you that sometimes the most beautiful journeys aren't about discovering the world, but about finding a piece of your own heart. Number 5. Morocco. Just hearing the name Morocco is enough to spark images of sun-drenched red streets, endless desert horizons, and spice-filled markets where even the air smells fragrant. This nation of more than 37 million people feels like a living fairy tale, written in sunlight, golden sand, and bold colors. Filipinos can stay in Morocco for up to 90 days without a visa. Plenty of time to travel from the energetic city of Marrakesh to the quiet villages tucked in the Atlas Mountains. Though it sits more than 14 hours away by plane from the Philippines, Morocco has a surprising sense of familiarity. Maybe it's the warmth of its people, maybe it's the lively souks that feel a bit like the tiange back home. Or maybe it's the way the sunset spills across the desert like a scene straight out of a movie. One person who stepped into that story is Ria, a 30-year-old photographer from Iloilo. As a freelancer, she was always searching for the perfect light to tell her stories. But at some point, she felt her photos were missing real emotion. So she chose Morocco, a place where every corner feels ready to be photographed. On her first day in Marrakesh, Ria was almost swept away by the whirlwind of sounds and colors at Jamar El Fna. The beat of drums, the calls of vendors, the hum of laughter, and the warm scent of spices drifting through the air. She paused for a moment, lifted her camera, and couldn't stop shooting. The moment she remembers most was riding a camel across the Sahara at sunset. In front of her stretched an ocean of sand. Behind her, the sun slipped lower, painting the sky gold. The wind brushed past her ears, and in that quiet moment, Ria felt small, yet freer than ever. Morocco isn't just a place for beautiful photos. It's a place that reminds you the world is wide enough that with just a few more steps, you can discover a brighter version of yourself. Number 4. Singapore. Arriving in Singapore feels like stepping into the future with every footstep you take. This tiny nation of just over 700 square kilometers is home to 5,700,000 people who live in an atmosphere so orderly, clean, and refined that it leaves visitors genuinely amazed. With a Philippine passport, you can stay in Singapore for 30 days without a visa, just the right amount of time to experience the lively rhythm of one of Asia's most advanced cities. Despite its modest size, Singapore is a place where luxury and simplicity exist side by side. Walk a few minutes and you'll see towering skyscrapers, but turn into a narrow lane and you'll find humble kopi shops that have been around for decades. This blend is exactly what makes Singapore far easier to love than most people expect. One person who found new inspiration here is Nico, a 30-year-old from Quezon City. Nico is a programmer who once got so consumed by his projects that he forgot creativity also needs room to breathe. When the major project he had worked on for 2 years hit a dead end, he decided to pause and fly to Singapore, hoping the city could spark something inside him. On his first night at Marina Bay, watching the skyscrapers reflected on the water, Nico felt like he was staring at a miniature version of the future. The next day, while sipping kopi in a small Chinatown cafe, he began jotting down sudden ideas, something he hadn't been able to do in a long time. The moment that truly shifted his mindset came when he sat beneath the glowing super trees at Gardens by the Bay. As the lights changed colors and the music rose, he felt his thoughts brighten along with them. "I've got it," he whispered. Within one short week, Nico flew back to the Philippines with a refreshed spirit and a new direction for his project. Singapore isn't just a modern city. It's a reminder that sometimes all you need is a brighter place to rediscover the light within yourself. Number 3. Indonesia. Indonesia is one of those countries that makes travelers feel like a single lifetime isn't enough to explore it all. With more than 17,000 islands and a population of over 270 million, it offers everything. Beaches as clear as jade, ancient temples more than 1,000 years old, towering volcanoes, and night markets overflowing with local flavors. Filipinos can enter Indonesia visa-free for 30 days, and with just a few steps into this country, you'll understand why so many people long to return. Among those who experienced a personal transformation in Indonesia is Kaloy, a 25-year-old from Baguio. Kaloy loves adventure, but had never traveled outside the Philippines alone. The day after his 25th birthday, he asked himself, if not now, then when? So he booked a ticket to Bali, carrying only a small backpack, a camera, and a heart ready to challenge itself. On his first day in Bali, Kaloy went to Kuta Beach. He stood quietly, watching the powerful waves and the surfers rushing toward them without hesitation. He didn't surf, but seeing how fearlessly people embraced the moment made him want to step out of his own comfort zone. In the days that followed, Kaloy traveled to Ubud and was captivated by its lush rice terraces. When he climbed Borobudur at sunrise, with clouds drifting past the ancient Buddha statues, he felt like he had entered a world unlike anywhere else. In Yogyakarta, he sat by the roadside with a steaming bowl of bakso, laughing as the spice made his eyes water but somehow tasted amazing. But the moment that truly changed him happened in Lombok. One afternoon, sitting on a quiet beach as the sun slowly sank into the water, Kaloy realized that life isn't only about responsibilities and goals. It's also about moments that make you feel truly alive. Indonesia isn't just a destination. It's the place that reminds you that sometimes, to discover who you are, you have to step beyond what's familiar. Number 2. Brazil. The moment you step into the land of samba, you can feel life pulsing through every street, every breeze, every smile. This vast country of more than 8.5 million square kilometers is home to over 200 million people who move to the rhythm of music, bright beaches, the mysterious Amazon, and some of the most vibrant festivals on Earth. With a Philippine passport, you can stay in Brazil for up to 90 days without a visa, long enough to experience every layer of emotion this country has to offer. Among the Filipinos who awakened both their palate and their heart, here is Grace, a 33-year-old chef from Pampanga. Grace had always been curious about the world's flavors. After years of working in a busy restaurant, she felt she needed a new place to reignite her creativity. When she learned Brazil was visa-free for Filipinos, she decided, I have to go. On her first day in Rio de Janeiro, Grace stood at Copacabana Beach, where strong waves crashed onto the shore and samba music drifted from afar. She took her first bite of a hot, crispy pastel from a roadside cart and immediately burst into a smile. The taste was both new and strangely familiar. The food here truly has a soul, she whispered. Over the next days, Grace dove deeper into Brazil's culinary world. In Sao Paulo, she learned how locals transform simple ingredients into hearty dishes like feijoada. In Salvador, she danced through the streets, her heartbeat syncing with every drum note. And while standing in the Amazon, savoring grilled fish seasoned with indigenous spices, she felt as if she were tasting a piece of the country's history. 3 weeks passed like one long, colorful breath. When she boarded the plane home, Grace carried with her a notebook full of new ideas and a heart bursting with inspiration. Brazil isn't just a land of festivals. It's a place that reminds you life always has new flavors waiting, if you're brave enough to step out and taste them. Number 1. Taiwan. With just a short flight from the Philippines, you can step into a world that's modern, gentle, and full of emotion. This island nation of more than 23 million people offers towering mountains, deep green gorges, dazzling night markets, and a culture so warm that visitors feel welcomed from the very first moment. Filipinos can stay in Taiwan for up to 14 days without a visa. just enough time to create memories that stay with you long after you return home. Among those who found a special spark of inspiration on this island is Rico, a 28-year-old writer from Davao. Rico had felt stuck inside his own manuscripts. Old ideas no longer fit, and new ideas refused to appear. When friends told him Taiwan was the perfect place to refresh the mind, he decided to take a chance. The moment he arrived in Taipei, Rico wandered into Rauhei Night Market. The calls of vendors, the aroma of freshly baked pepper buns, and the glow of colorful lights made him feel like he had stepped into a living illustration. As he ate, he scribbled notes non-stop into his small notebook, something he hadn't felt inspired to do in a long time. The next day, Rico headed to Taroko Gorge. Standing between those towering cliffs, hearing the rush of water and the wind weaving through the canyon, he felt his mind open wider than it had in months. If my story could be as powerful as this place, he thought, then I'm on the right path. In Jufen, as he sat in a tiny tea shop, watching the rain fall against the window while sipping a warm, fragrant milk tea, Rico finally found the opening lines of the novel he had been waiting for. 14 days passed quickly, and Rico returned to the Philippines with a new manuscript, a clearer spirit, and a heart filled with moments rich in inspiration. Taiwan isn't just a nearby destination. It's the place that reminds you that sometimes a simple change of scenery is enough to change your life. So we've just explored 10 amazing countries that Filipinos can visit without needing a visa. Each place carries its own colors, its own stories, and its own emotions. From the blue waters of Indonesia, to the deserts of Morocco, to the majestic mountains of Taiwan. What's beautiful is this: the world is huge, yet closer than you think. With a Philippine passport in hand, you can start your journey as soon as tomorrow. So among these 10 destinations, which one makes you want to pack your bag first? Share it in the comments. Who knows, your next trip might become the inspiration for the next Pinoy Global Explorer video. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. See you on the next journey. The world still has so much waiting for you to discover.